Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're going to do a short study, just 6 or 7 episodes, I think, entitled Kings. And it's not First Kings or Second Kings or the kings of Judah or Israel, but some of the key rulers, kings, and emperors that factor into the Old and New Testament story. And I'm not going back very far. I want to begin with Cyrus, the king of Persia, whose decree allowed the Israelites to return to Judah if they so wished. And we'll go from him to the intertestamental period to the time of the post Alexander the Great with the Ptolemies, the Seleucids, and the Maccabean revolt. We'll talk about that. Talk about a few Herods and a few Caesars, so that we'll know some more about the historical background. Now, all these men are despicable. Most of them are, but not all are. And Cyrus is one of the great men of history. Cyrus, the Persian, who was born in 600 BC, who was born before the final moment of Babylonian captivity. There were two moments when Babylon carried the Jews away into captivity, one in the late 600s and then one in 586 when Nebuchadnezzar came and destroyed Jerusalem. Um, Ezekiel was taken away in the first, and Daniel was taken away in the second. So, and we know that from Scripture, and we also know it from history. So anyway, he was born in between those two events. In 600 BC, he came to power in Persia in 559 BC, which is after the Babylonian captivity, the final Babylonian captivity in 586. He joined in his own person the Medes and the Median Empire and the Persian Empire, the Medes and the Persians, who were closely associated with each other anyway. His father, Cambyses, was Persian. His grandfather, through his mother, was Astyages, and therefore he's the heir to both thrones. And he defeats the Babylonians and basically absorbs most of the peoples that come under his rule, although he's continually fighting battles here and there, wars here and there. But by the time of his death in 530 BC, just 9 years after his decree, in which he allowed the Jews to go back home, um, um, by the time of his death, he had established the largest empire the earth had ever seen, and one of the two or three largest that has ever existed anyway to this day. Cyrus was a remarkable individual, evidently a military genius, a genius at organization, a genius at administration. People around the world, from China and India to the Greeks and the Macedonians, um, and the Carthaginians, admired him for just his accomplishments, for his tolerance, for his wisdom in establishing, organizing, and administering such a large empire in which people thrived. And he held the empire together through administration, not through military might so much. But the great thing that he did was to allow indigenous peoples who had been captured by the Babylonians or other nations that he ended up acquiring, one way or the other, he let them go back to their homelands, and he returned to them their sacred objects, and he encouraged them to practice their indigenous religions in their homelands. And this is in the Bible. Um, in Second Chronicles chapter 36, verses 22 and 23, the last verses of Kings and Chronicles. Now, in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, it wasn't the first year, but it was the first year after he had captured Babylon and completely subdued it. Now, in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, in order to fulfill the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, so that he sent a proclamation throughout his kingdom and also put it in writing, saying, "Thus says the king of Persia, Yahweh, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth. He has appointed me to build him a house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Whoever is there among you all, of all his people, may Yahweh, his God, be with him. Let him go up." So Chronicles wasn't written until after the return, or this epilogue was added once they got back. But we also have fuller information at the beginning of the book of Ezra, who is there to lead that first group of returnees back to Jerusalem. And Ezra begins, "Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, in order to fulfill the word of the Lord Yahweh by the mouth of Jeremiah, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, so that he sent a proclamation throughout all of his kingdom and put it in writing, saying, Thus says Cyrus, king of Persia, Yahweh, the God of heaven, has given me," word for word what we just read. So it may have just been added as an epilogue, or Ezra is the one who collected the information and put Chronicles together. Anyway, which are official court records. Maybe he found them and put them together in book form. "Whoever is there among you of his people, God be with him. Let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, to rebuild the house of the Lord, the God of Israel. He is God who is in Jerusalem." Now, see, he is God who is in Jerusalem, because Cyrus worshipped Marduk as the great God above all gods. But he did believe that people in their indigenous areas had the responsibility to worship their own gods in the way those gods required. And that was just part of this larger group of divine beings over whom his god Marduk reigned. And so he gives them back all of their relics, all of their holy things, and that is included. King Cyrus, verse 7, Cyrus brought out the articles of the house of Yahweh, which Nebuchadnezzar had carried away from Jerusalem and put in the house of his gods. And Cyrus, the king of Persia, had them brought out by the hand of Mithridath, the treasurer. He counted them out to Sheshbazzar, the prince of Judah. And we get the list, 30 gold dishes, 1,000 silver dishes, 29 duplicates, 30 gold bowls, 410 silver bowls of a second kind, 1,000 other articles, 1,000 other articles. All the articles added up to 5,400, and they were brought back to Jerusalem. It's amazing to me that their administration, that their record keeping was so good that after 40, 50 years, they could find all these articles that were not kept in one place and get an inventory of them and hand them back. What's not mentioned? The Ark of the Covenant. Where did it go? Well, we don't know. Evidently, it's in a warehouse in D.C. and has been since World War II. I don't know. No, that's Hollywood talking. But both of these accounts say that Cyrus put this in writing. And he did, evidently, because he wrote lots of decrees and had them distributed throughout the areas. He called his provinces satraps, and there was a satrap in charge of those. And in fact, Daniel seems to have played that role. Anyway, at one point. But what we do have are the cylinders of Cyrus, which date back, it seems, to his own reign. And these are what they're described as. These are clay cylinders upon which Cyrus has had written just his deeds, the things that he's proud of about his administration, that was either written to have been published when he died or towards the end of his life. And it's interesting. You can look it up online to read it, and you get to see real flavor of the man, the greatness of the man that Cyrus the Persian was. But he did include this. He has this long section about how tolerant he was of all indigenous religions, native religions, and how he wanted to encourage people to practice their own religion. And he wrote, "I returned the images of the gods who had resided to their own places, and I let them dwell in their own abodes, and I gathered all their inhabitants and returned them to their own dwelling." So he did indeed put in writing what he had done. He's a great man. And whether he himself, he doesn't talk about Yahweh at all in the Cyrus cylinder. But I have no doubt whatsoever that the decree he handed to the Jews and that he distributed, so Jews around his empire could return if they wanted to. He did include the name of their own God because that's exactly what he would have done, as respectful as he was of all um, groups and their own religions. You can to this day, if you want to go to Iran, you can this day go to his tomb. It is in no way frequented much because Iran is a Shiite Muslim nation, and he was a worshiper of Marduk, and therefore he's thought of as a pagan. But by the authorities in Iran, but it's such an ancient site that they have left it undisturbed, and it's there. And if you got your paperwork in order, you could go see it. Is still there to this day. He died in 530 BC. Some accounts say he died on the field of battle against the Scythians. Everybody seems to be fighting the Scythians at some point in the ancient world. But Xenophon, the Greek historian, says he died of old age in his own capital in 530 BC. I hope that's the case. I have taken nearly 12 of your minutes, so this is not acceptable. We'll pick up next time. We're going to talk about the Seleucids and the Ptolemies and their role between the Testaments. Thank you for joining me for what is quite a bit more than double 5 good minutes. We'll see you next time.